1 year ago, the LMP3 made its American debut here in the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda, a series where drivers young and old alike come to hone their skills. A proven rung on the IMSA ladder, future champions are made here. And the season continues at Sebring International Raceway, where many of the 17 turns are as legendary as the drivers who've conquered them in the past. Action areas are the left-hander at turn 1, the hairpin at 7, that complex of corners 10, 11, and 12, and the difficult Sunset Bend turn 17. At Sebring today, beautiful weather for the 1 hour 45-minute race, and the track is packed with fans. If you can see the grass now, it's because so many of the spectators are taking advantage of the grid walk on this chilly morning, getting a chance to be close to the cars and the stars. But don't worry, they'll be back in their spots before we go green. It's only 49 degrees out this morning, but very little wind, only 4 miles an hour. The forecast, no rain in sight. So what are the cars? Two kinds in this series. The LMP3 have red number panels and a closed cockpit, while the MPC runners are open cockpit and bear a blue number panel. Easy to tell apart. Who's starting in those cars? Row 1 is all 47 racing, with TJ Fisher and Anthony Simone starting in 2 Normas. It's an all LMP3 party until we get back to row number 9, where our MPC pole sitter John Brownson, ahead of our points leader Robert Masson and then Tazio Otis. 26 cars are set to take the green flag. As they come around turn 17, they are in their 2x2 formation, nicely holding position. Can't imagine it'll stay that way for too long. Almost to that green flag. Green flag is out, and a beautifully clean start. Well done by Jeremy Shaw to nail that grid. As they approach turn 1, the fog has burned off from this morning, and it is the 47 ahead of teammate 74 as they go cleanly through. Norma leading Norma, and ooh, the 74 dropped a wheel and lost the position, so the lead has changed already. The 47, Jeremy has gone into the lead as the Ave Riley goes very deep coming into turn 3, but manages to recover. So far, we still have all of our starters going round and round this 3.74 mile track.
That is good. Certainly a creative line there, wasn't it, by Gary Gibson, the car number 44, the Ave Riley, that distinctive red car. There's a few red cars in the field, but that one is very distinctive indeed. And the field seems to be making their way pretty smoothly around here. TJ Fisher, what a great debut for 47 Motorsports on the front, on the pole position, his first ever sports car race. Coming out of the Pro Mazda Championship from California, finished 4th in the Pro Mazda Open Wheel Series last season. Absolutely loving these more powerful cars, and this Norma chassis is really strong.
It is. It was certainly the class of the field at the 24 Hours of Daytona. Lost the race because they mistimed the pit stop. That's what allowed Roman DeAngelis with IMSA Motorsports to come through and take the win. In this weekend, though, it's a different driver lineup for IMSA Motorsports, so they are going to have their work cut out for them. Dean Baker starting the race, handing over to Zachary Robichon a little bit later. That is the Ligier that we are looking to really contest against the Normas, but we also have more competition. We've got Extreme Speed Motorsport. The number 3 is a car to contest with. Maxwell Hanratty driving with a new co-driver this weekend, Benjamin Waddell, but it is those 2 Normas leading the way.
Yeah, heading into turn 1, Anthony Simone on the outside line. Got a little bit squirrely out there and almost lost that second position, but was able to gain it. That's a Canadian, Anthony Simone. A couple of decades ago, he was a front runner in USF 2000. The last 10 years or so, he's been racing in a NASCAR Pinty Series north of the border, and actually will continue to do so this season. But he's absolutely loving the horsepower of these, and the downforce particularly, of these LMP3 cars.
There was a moment for the 51, about halfway around the lap, it had a bit of a struggle. Now, that was supposed to be Rob Hodes and Sean Rahal. I believe that is the driver lineup. Still dropping down through the field is Rob Hodes, a guy with a lot of Ferrari Challenge experience from Montreal, and raced in Lamborghinis last year. He had a difficult first lap, but the good news, an hour and 45-minute long race as he got turned around going into turn 17. Did a really good job to not make it a full spin into the Sunset Bend, as it's called. Not exactly sunset right now, though, Jeremy. With this fog burning off, visibility is only getting better and better.
Yeah, it's still pretty hazy, isn't it, this morning?
Yeah.
We can see that from these low camera angles, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship practice that began the day at 8 o'clock had to be delayed a little bit because of that low-lying kind of mist, fog, call it what you will. But this race now, conditions are really, really good. It's warming up a little bit. It's still pretty chilly out there, but these two Normas out in front of the field at the moment. TJ Fisher holding off his teammate Anthony Simone. These two driving for 47 Motorsports. And as you talked about, the number 47 car with Austin McCusker and David Drew from Switzerland in the first round of the championship had that race pretty much locked up. That was the fastest car at Daytona, but you talked about that pit stop miscue. That's Rob Hoders off the road again, I think, in car number 51. They did a practice pit stop yesterday just to make sure everything was cool. Well, they had a wheel gun failure on that number 47 car as Rob Hoders does a couple of 360s there to get going again on the grass and onto the grey stuff again. Now that's good news for him. But hopefully for 47 Motorsports, they got all their pit stop dramas out of the way.
And for Rob Hodis, we're getting a replay in the booth of what happened. I think he got some assistance there from one of the MPC cars.
I don't. I think he was diving down the inside, Shay, and I actually think he just locked up the brakes, trying not to hit the car in front of me. He was always alongside Dave House, and he just jumped on the brakes in order not to hit Dave House. And in doing so, the car just snapped out sideways, and he lost control and had a quick spin. But no harm, no foul, no damage, no contact, and able to continue at the back of the pack.
Good call there, Jeremy. Well, the 74 is the car that has been lighting up the timing sheets and got back around TJ Fisher, did Anthony Simone. So took the race beginning not exactly the way that he had planned it in his head, coming through turn 1 and into 2, dropping a few wheels and dropping back a little bit. But now all has been set right, and that 74 back to the front and charging hard. I had a quick chat yesterday with Cameron Castles, who's driving the number 75. He's a guy who's been in this, the IMSA umbrella for about a year and a half now. He loves racing on the same weekends as IMSA does because he says it's such a big family. But coming up to grips with this high downforce LMP3 car, after driving a Porsche Cayman, a GT4 car, in the last few years, he said it's a completely different ballpark. He's going about 12 seconds a lap faster around Sebring, which is something that he's having a difficult time wrapping his head around. And as we are talking about him in the number 75, Cameron has a quick spin. He does a flick turn.
Make that two.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, but Cameron from Canada, really happy to just be on this ladder.
Yeah, and spoke to Cam. Let's have a look at him.
Did he get? Ooh, he might have.
He's trying to make a move there on the number 44 car coming into turn 17, and same sort of thing as we saw earlier on. Kind of locked up the brakes on the turn-in order primarily to make sure he didn't have contact with the car that was ahead of him that he was trying to pass, and as a result that locked up the rear brakes and around he went. So again, no harm, no foul, able to continue.
And Cameron is another one of these guys doing the race by himself. Not many drivers in the LMP3 categories taking on that challenge. I think actually Cameron is the only one of our LMP3 drivers who is solo in this field. But now after that spin, he's got a little bit of ground to make up, and he's found himself in the MPC battles. So he is behind Wyatt Schwab and Dr. Masson. Will have to get past them to try and get back up to Jim McGuire, who is his next LMP3 target, who is about 13 seconds up the road.
Yeah, and Cameron certainly should have the pace to be able to catch him. I suppose he yesterday or the day before, he was just he just wasn't driving well. He was comfortable in the practice sessions, in the test sessions. When it came down to the first practice, he just didn't put it together. I told him, look, you're going to get that when you're starting out. He's still relatively new to the sport, only been racing for a couple of years, and particularly for this sort of horse, a lot more horsepower and downforce in this car than anything he's ever driven before. But he was able to reset his thoughts, come back strongly. Okay, he's made a mistake now, but that's all part of the learning curve.
Dave House now fallen into the grasp of the number 28 MPC car that was started by Tazio Otis, a youngster from Oakland, California, 22 years of age. So very, very eager to prove that he belongs in this series and hopefully climbing the ladder. He was third in the MPC points last year when it was still shorter races, and now sharing a car this weekend with Bart Wolf, the guy whose name is over the door of the team awning. And Tazio looking to try and get around Dave, but Dave has been in this series for quite some time. He knows the tricks of the trade. Back at the front of the field, it is Dr. Masson in that number 11, ahead of Wyatt Schwab, and he's managed to keep the gap fairly stable between the two of them. Robert Masson is not somebody I worry about the fitness falling off. He really works at being in the gym a lot.
Yeah, he certainly does, and you know, that's certainly one of the keys to success in a race like this. You certainly wouldn't call it an endurance race necessarily, but an hour and 3/4, as I said a few minutes ago, that's a real workout around this place. And if you're not on top of your fitness, it can be very, very difficult indeed. And I know there were a few drivers at Daytona who was next to hanging on at the end of the race, and I think it's going to be the same here for sure.
I would even venture to say even more so here, Jeremy, because Sebring is such a physical track. There are going to be a lot of drivers who find new blisters on their hands in places. Oh, as we have a big off. Is that Dr. Masson? I think it is. Don't quite know what happened. I just saw a car sort of flying sideways through the air. It's Dr. Robert Masson from the lead by himself in that number 11 Mazda Prototype Challenge car has gone off. We are still under green flag conditions, but the yellow are in hand on the timing stand. Don't know where that was on the track, Jeremy, do you?
No, I think it might have been 10, but I'm not 100% sure. I certainly didn't see.
Robert, who's shaking his head, realizes that was perhaps avoided. Oh no, it was something
Right
broke on
front
the
suspension
suspension.
failure.
Oh my goodness.
It's turn 10, isn't it?
Yep, full course caution is out. Wow, what a scary moment. It was coming into the braking zone at 10. Just when he got onto the brakes at full stop, something snapped.
The right front suspension just failed. Something, whether it was the upright, whether it was whatever it was, something broke on there, and the whole wheel assembly just came loose and just was kind of counted. It steered the car left on its own. Nothing that Robert Masson could do about that. So the championship leader was doing a super job there, keeping his nose clean. He was a bit disappointed after practice and qualifying. Having said that, in the practice sessions, he was confident in the car, but doesn't have a lot of experience around this racetrack.
Yeah.
But you know, was doing exactly what he needed to do in the early stages of this race. But that was clearly a mechanical failure. Looking at it again, watch that left-hand side of the screen, the right front corner of the car, gets on the brakes, bang! Left, it just broke right away and pitched the car sideways, and Robert Masson a passenger from there. That's a glancing blow, not a heavy impact, but that's a pretty scary incident for Robert Masson.
For sure, and for Dr. Masson, who got his first ever win in the series at the Daytona round in early January. He had a handful of podiums last year, but really felt like this was making a difference. Of course, his son Kyle, who won the 12 Hours of Sebring last year, driving in the Prototype Challenge car, and driving in this series, was the champion of the same class. So Dr. Masson was carrying on the family name of winning in this category. But now the IMSA safety workers are with him, and they are going to get him out of the car. Very smart also for somebody who's not really used to crashing to know to stay in the car and wait until they get to you, to not do something brash like get out when it's still not a safe area. We are back to green flag racing, and the number 74 gets a much better start. So for sure, Simone making up, but Fisher not letting him out of the sight. The two of them still line astern. They are working together, it seems. The team cars and the two Norma chassis in the field have pulled out a tiny little bit. Well, the lead has, but third place right on the tail of that Norma, as Rob Hodes has a bit of a moment going through 3, just taking a little bit too much curb. Wyatt Schwab has lost the lead. Dave House has gone back through for MPC. The veteran knows what to do on the restarts, and for Wyatt Schwab, this is still a very new experience racing in these kind of cars.
Yeah, very cool. And it says a lot about Dave House. Just he knows what to do at these races. He's been there, done that many times. Yeah, exactly right. And he's still super competitive. He's not just out there. Yes, he's having fun, but he wants to win as well. And that's he's out in the front right now, and he will intend to stay there.
They give you better T-shirts when you win. That's what it is. The 74 ahead of the 47, both for 47 Motorsports. That's not at all confusing. I do like that they have used the same numbers and just inverted. That makes it easy to remember which team they are racing for.
Yeah, and that's Garrett Kletchin is the team principal there at 47 Motorsports. He made a one-off race last season.
Yeah.
I think it was at Trois-Rivières, wasn't it?
No, it was at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, it was. That's right. Yes, I wasn't there.
Because we were talking about it.
Indeed. So you know, now returning first of all with a one-car team at Daytona. Now 2 cars, and I know that quite a few other people were able to test drive the Norma fairly recently here. We're massively impressed by it. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of these French-built Norma M30 chassis. Well, Ligier is built in France as well, of course.
Yes.
In the championship before too long.
Salt, the magic piece of paper that has all the answers on it. Garrett Kletchin, who started at one race at Lime Rock and then did do Trois-Rivières. So it was Lime Rock, the solo race. Last year we had 2 rounds of the championship at every track except for one. And oh no, trouble for IMSA. That is in turn 17. Dean Baker has gone around. And can he get it turned in the right direction? He needs to find reverse. That's one thing that John Hindhaugh always says. When you get in a race car, make sure you know where reverse is, because that's something that's not fun to ask over the radio. He does get it pointed back in the right direction and going again under its own power, and he goes straight into the pit lane off of driver's right. We are still 3 minutes away from the window when we can do our driver change and have that minimum drive time be met. In some championships, they allow you to not so much worry about the minimum drive time for a singular driver if they're not involved in the championship. But in this case, both drivers would be disqualified if the car does not make the drive time for each of them. And the 26 of Jim McGuire has gone around. Is that at the exit of 8? Yep, it is, just up by Chateau Elan. If you're staying up there, you've just had a good view of that. And did he go by himself? Yep, just a little bit too much curb on the left-hand side. Jim, who's got quite a bit of experience racing in the U.S. He's done the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge in the past.
And in these
Europe.
cars in Europe, the LMP3 cars in Europe as well.
He's brought his European co-driver, Matt Bell, along with him to do this race. And Matt, who's very familiar with all sorts of driving in these cars, he's got a win at the Petit Le Mans from quite a few years back in an Audi R8. That was with the Paul Miller Racing Crew, so he's a face that's known in this paddock. Although it was slightly confusing because we do have a Matt Bell who races a lot in the US as well. So we have Matt Bell and not that Matt Bell. Not that Matt Bell is not in the car yet. And Jim McGuire has managed to get going again. We'll have to keep an eye on that 4 as I believe it's back out on track, Jeremy. So quick trip through the pit lane for the IMSA Motorsports Ligier. Perhaps noticing that it wasn't quite yet time for that window to be open and sent him back out for a couple more laps before it does. And then Dean Baker can get out and hand over to Zachary Robichon. Yep, we are 1.5 minutes away from the window opening. And the 4 car is showing up on the back side of the track, so that should work out pretty well. One more lap after this, I think. Dave House has his hands full again. Jim Garrett ahead of him in the number 42 LMP3 car has provided a bit of a block for Dave, and Dave is getting frustrated because Wyatt Schwab in the number 18 is all over his tail again. Dave's been here before. He knows how this movie plays. Jim Garrett, who has a new livery on the car this weekend. I don't remember there being an American flag on the tail fin of a car at Daytona, do you?
No, but it was, well, I don't, but
No.
it was certainly red, white and blue.
Yes.
At Daytona.
The 77 Mazda Prototype Challenge car is in the pit lane as well, but that is not just a simple pit stop for Howard Jacobs of the Performance Tech team. A bit more work going on to that car. This battle continues. Dave House, what a champion. He is fending off a guy who's about 60 years younger than he is. My goodness.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It really is.
He's hanging on to those P3 cars as well.
Yes.
There's 2 or 3 P3 cars right ahead of him on the racetrack. So the 51 cars worked its way back after that early spin.
The Mazda Prototype Challenge car is very nimble. Ooh, as Rob Hodes has gone off again at the exit of turn 16. He is well off the racetrack on the grass. Now takes an opportunity to get back on, kicks a bit of sand and dust onto the outside curbing, so people will have to make sure not to get their tires dirty. Yeah, I think he got away with that, Jeremy. The window, the pit window, is now open as of 30 seconds ago. So we'll have to see who dives into the pit lane early on and who stays out for a little bit more fun. And we have a slew of pit stop takers as a couple of cars dive into the pit lane, including the number 17, which is Matthew Dickin, who will be handing over to Corey Lewis. We also have the 19, which is Brad Baker. And remind me who Brad roped in to drive with him again, some Belgian guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Jan Halen will be taking over. And then the 25, Joel Janko, has come into the pit lane as well, and he is passing off to former series champion Kenton Cook. Not a bad pair of hands that we are getting behind the wheels of those three cars sitting on the pit lane. All of them Ligiers, should also say. Yeah, Jan Halen, Corey Lewis, and Kenton Cook walked into a bar. Not the start of a joke, but they are about to all go out on track together. So that will be very amusing. We are just being shown a replay of, oh, it's the 74. It's Anthony Simone putting a lap on the Ford, the IMSA machine that won at Daytona. Well, at least he tried. He went a little bit too deep on the braking and went well wide. Where on track was that? But that must have cost him the lead, and it has, because TJ Fisher has gone through, so his teammate in the other Norma has retaken the lead, and in response, Anthony Simone comes into the pit lane as well as that number 4 machine, driven now by Dean Baker, to be driven by Zachary Robichon. The 74, Anthony Simone, perfectly into his pit box, will hand over. His day is now done. That's a very good job, though, I have to say, from Anthony Simone. Very, very impressive drive. So the pit stops are going on, and the 4 car has pulled the driver out. They're doing the refueling. For the 19, they are changing tires. That's interesting because not every team does. It's not mandatory that you change tires. You have the time should you choose to do it, but fuel and tires not at the same time. Minimum pit stop times are enforced to keep it even. Shane Lewis has also come into the pit lane in that number 23 Ligier. He'll be handing over to Mike Skeen. They're of different heights, are Shane Lewis and Mike Skeen. Just thinking about that. Driver comfort.
Yeah, good job here by number 36, Paul LaHaye, who's got up to 3rd position now in MPC, ahead of the much younger Tazio Ortiz, much more experienced Tazio Ortiz as well. Driven a lot of different cars, open wheel cars primarily. But Paul LaHaye from Louisiana doing a nice job there in 3rd place in car number 36. That's a really distinctive liveried car.
TJ Fisher comes through turn 17. Very, very pink. Lovely pink, bubblegum pink. And TJ Fisher stays out on track for another lap. So his driving time has not yet expired. He's got Tim George ahead of him in the number 24 MPC car. Tim George, who's already been into the pit lane. And the 51 is on an out lap. Rob Hodes having handed over to Sean Rahal, as we have, who's that in front of Paul LaHaye? Is that Jim Garrett? Might be. It is still TJ Fisher. Maxwell Hanratty is in 2nd. Chris Wright in the number 30 has finally come into the pit lane, and he will be handing over to Michael Weldon, who drove alongside Maxwell Hanratty at the Daytona round of the championship. Lance Wilsey moves up into 3rd since Chris Wright came into the pits. Wyatt Schwab continues to lead the MPC category as we are going through pit stops ahead of Dave House. And as you mentioned, Paul LaHaye in that pink car, man, it looks really good from the aerial shots.
Yeah, and TJ Fisher now, he's lapping in the high 2-minute range, so quite a bit slower than he was before.
Patricio O'Ward looking to make a move down the inside of Paul LaHaye on the back straight, going into turn 17, gets it done. Can he make it stick over the bumps, though? That's a question. And yes, he does. He is about 2 car lengths ahead of Paul LaHaye as they exit turn 17, come onto the front straight. Now, Paul LaHaye driving the car by himself. That pink machine is all his, but Patricio O'Ward will get out and hand over to M. Bart Wolf. So Tazio knows that if he has something to prove, it is now, and that's exactly what he did. He took advantage of that opportunity given to him. TJ Fisher coming out of turn 16 now onto the backstretch. We'll have to see if he takes his leave, as the 7 has come into the pit lane as well, which means Pato O'Ward will be getting into that car. A kid who's fast in literally anything he gets into. Jeremy, you were witnessing that at St. Petersburg as well.
Yeah, no, he's a real talent. Is Patricio O'Ward, no question about it. He's made a couple of starts in his championship before this weekend in a PC car a couple of years ago, finishing 3rd place on that occasion. But now he's got a lot more experience under his belt, and he won convincingly last weekend in the opening Indy Lights race of the championship. Unfortunately, he made a mistake while leading the second one, but he's still in. He was fast, and that's the important thing, and right up in the championship chase in Indy Lights.
And our PC champion last year in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, he got every single fastest lap that was up for grabs, which, yes, there wasn't a great deal of competition in car count-wise, but there was in driving talent-wise. And he managed to come away with that distinct honor that I don't think that's been replicated before in IMSA competition, that somebody has won every single fastest lap of every single round.
No, that is pretty remarkable. He's going to be interested to watch him in the main race as well this weekend, because he is going to be a contender.
TJ Fisher continuing to just drive around, completely unthreatened. 16, almost 17 seconds over the next closest car. So TJ's out there for a nice Friday afternoon drive around the bumps of Sebring International Raceway. Coming onto the backstretch now, out of turn 16. I love the camera shots of this track. It's just something that it's so historic. You feel Sebring, no matter where you go. If cars are out running around, it feels as it has for the last almost 70 years of motorsport competition. Same concrete, same surface. I love it. The 30 has come into the pit lane and is now exiting. Now, Austin McCusker in that Norma has an opportunity to pull away from the Ligiers behind him, because the number 4, the IMSA Motorsport car, is trapped in between himself and 2nd and 3rd spot. Both of the ESM machines playing a bit of a tail gunner for Austin McCusker there. And it is now Michael Weldon who is in 2nd in that number 30 machine. Ben Waddell is 3rd in the number 3. And then Pato O'Ward in 4th in that number 7. But just because they're there now doesn't mean they won't change it. As soon as I say that, Pato O'Ward jumps up to the 3rd position. Excellent move by Pato. There are quite a few lapped LMP3 cars between the leader and then 2nd place, but that doesn't matter for Pato O'Ward. He's looking to get onto the podium and then further up. That's all he cares about at the moment.
That's exactly right. Number 4 and 55, that's Zach Robichon and Scott Andrews. They are battling for, well, 2nd and 3rd on the racetrack, but a lap down to the overall race leader. So Austin McCusker, he's going to have, at this stage in the game, he's going to have to turn a few laps and make sure he doesn't come under pressure from them, as that's
Pato.
Yeah, Pato O'Ward diving down the inside at turn 10. Whoa! Ouch!
Big spin for the number 3. That was Benjamin Waddell in his first start. And also Robbie Foley gets turned around in the number, or no, that's Lance Wilsey in the number 33. Yeah. So that is our Masters class leader, which will put Cameron Castles into the Masters class lead, at least temporarily, as Wilsey is trying to wait for a safe gap and more contact. Who was that? That's the 19. So that is Jan Halen. And is that the 4 of Zachary Robichon?
I think you're right.
Oh, no. And Robichon is stopped on the apex of a corner. No, it's Cameron Castles. It's the number 75. A very bad lap for our Masters class.
Yeah.
We lost.
Who's left standing?
Yeah, who wants to win this one?
Who is left standing? Yeah, right. Castles would be, I guess it'll be the...
It would probably be, no, Matthew Dickin is not a Masters class.
Well, no,
Jim McGuire?
Well, yeah, Matthew Dickin he's a master. Corey Lewis isn't, but if he finishes ahead there, that's going to be good enough.
Patricio O'Ward with a brilliant move down the inside, and Benjamin Waddell just missing his braking point, and a great job by Josh Hurley in the number 44 to avoid hitting the side of the ESM green and black machine. Lance Wilsey spinning a bit further back in the field in the same spot that previous spin had happened. Wow, that was action-packed. McCusker leads from Patricio O'Ward, 1.7 seconds back and under 15 minutes.
And Sean Reynolds in the pit lane, so not sure what happened to number 51 car. Was he one of those spinners on that restart lap?
I didn't see him spin, but
Tell you what, up into 9th position overall. Oh, okay, I was just going to say what happened to Wyatt, because in... no, he came past there. Dave House had already taken the lead at the end of the lap. I think this is a turn 1, isn't it?
It is.
Wyatt Schwab is off the road. Dave House is now 9th overall in the race. He took the restart in 14th. He's now 9th overall and leading MPC. Hats off, Dave. Go for it.
Well done. A round of applause as the 19, Jan Halen, comes into the pit lane. Wyatt Schwab is stopped at the entrance to turn 1. He's at the exit of the pit lane, all the way off against the tire barrier. He has not made contact with the tires, but he is parked up there. Dave House, MPC leader, as Jeremy says, 9th overall, which means that Paul LaHaye will cycle up to 2nd, and Stephen Dawes will go to 3rd. So what looked like a podium position slipping away from that number 22 is Stephen Dawes, all of a sudden has been gifted back by Wyatt Schwab stopping.
Yes, indeed. Whether he had an incident on his own or what happened, we didn't really see, but there is Dave House in the 9th position overall. Pristine car there, isn't it? And he's out in front and looking to stay there now. He's got a pretty good margin over Paul LaHaye in 2nd place. He was about 8 or 9 seconds back as they came across the line on that first lap after the restart. Meanwhile, out front, it is Austin McCusker, but pretty looming in his mirrors now is Patricio O'Ward.
Cue the Jaws music, because Patricio O'Ward is on a mission. It is less than a second of a gap between 1st and 2nd now. We are still green. Wyatt Schwab still showing as stopped on our timing screens in turn 1, but perhaps he's far enough off the racing line that race control is happy to let this one play out. 12 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Patricio O'Ward hunting down Austin McCusker.
Yeah, and he was about 3/4 of a second faster on that last lap. So Patricio O'Ward now has got the bit between his teeth. We know he's looking to redeem himself from the mistake he made 1 week ago on the streets of St. Petersburg, where he threw away a certain second victory, or apparently a certain second victory, by running off the road and stalling the car and then rejoining at the back of the pack. Paul LaHaye in car number 36. He's running 2nd place now in that pink One Motorsports. It's a One Motorsports 1-2 then at the moment. Paul LaHaye is the best previous best finish was a 6th position, so he's currently running not only on the podium but in 2nd place in MPC.
And his 6th position came here at Sebring in the 2nd round last year, and it's 6th at Watkins Glen. So he's familiar with what it looks like to be 6th. He's not familiar with what it looks like to be 2nd. And a great effort today by that bright pink car. Jeremy, we have a new leader. Patricio O'Ward has gotten around Austin McCusker and is driving away down the backstretch.
And that's well, surprising, because the Norma is really, really good. Austin McCusker, I thought, was pretty much in tune with this guy. Hasn't done an awful lot of laps this weekend, certainly. But Patricio O'Ward, he'll drive anything, anywhere, anytime. He's got a huge amount of experience now with all that prototype driving he did last year, and of course this year as well with Performance State Motorsports. He will be taking part in tomorrow's 66th running of the 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Advance Auto Parts.
And this happened around the backside of the course. Did McCusker get a bit loose? No, Pato just dove down the inside.
Austin not paying attention, quite frankly.
Well, but that was also the same point of the racetrack, Jeremy, where we had seen quite a few spins on the lap prior. So McCusker perhaps being a bit more cautious than he normally would have. But it is Patricio O'Ward who leads. 3 minutes are left on the clock, which means we don't get the white flag this time by, but we should next time.
That's exactly right.
And Pato O'Ward will be happy to see that. Austin McCusker will be happy to see it, knowing that that means 2nd place is ensured. And as you say, very much rightly, a good points day for him. Meanwhile, the battle continues between Mike Weldon and Matt Bell. Still just over a second between them. Just got a feeling that Matt Bell is going to wish it was one more lap, don't you?
Yes, although Michael Weldon has really stepped it up, and he was just a tenth of a second that Matt Bell was quicker on that previous lap. But Corey Lewis, who was a fair way back, I guess, in the next position, he's just turned his best lap of the race, 2:01.1. But certainly it's that battle for third that is the one to watch. Ahead of them, however, Scott Andrews in caliber 55. He's a lap down in 15th position now. He's just turned his best lap of the race to 1:59.5, and it's he that is in between Patricio O'Ward and I think he's just behind Austin McCusker, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's just behind Austin McCusker then in third on the road, and then a little bit of a gap to Michael Weldon and Matt Bell.
Given how Dave House got out of the number 86 for his pit stop, I can't help but imagine how relieved he will be when that white flag comes out. A 28-second lead over the next car on track and 35 seconds over Paul LaHaye for the 75-year-old. We can't really say that enough, Jeremy. It's with such admiration for what he's done in today's race, and for Dave, this will be a very, very, very well-earned podium.
Somebody put a wheel off the road there at the turn 16. Le Mans curve coming onto the Ullman straight. Not sure who that was. I think it was one of those guys battling away for third, fourth, or fifth. A white flag now for our race leader, Patricio O'Ward.
And he's got a nice, comfortable gap between himself and Austin McCusker in second place. Ligier ahead of Norma, which is exactly as it was at Daytona. Actually, from the finish of that, it was Ligier, Norma, Ligier. Right now, it is Ligier, Norma, Ligier.
It is. And on that last lap, I think it might have been Matt Bell that put that wheel off the road over at turn 16, because on that last lap, he lost a fair bit of ground, including a second and a half in the final sector to Michael Weldon. That the battle for third and fourth position between car number 30, that's Weldon, number 26, that's Matt Bell.
The toe hug pops up on the number 7 of Patricio O'Ward as he comes into the braking zone at Chateau Elan. It's almost as if the car is waving to the guests of that historic hotel. And blue flags being waved just ahead of Patricio O'Ward to let the traffic know the leader's coming through. And by the way, guys, it's the last lap, so really don't give him a hard time. And it's a good thing it's the last lap. Looks like Pato's rear tires have burned off quite a bit. He got a little bit squirrely coming through 12 and into 13. He's got MPC cars in front of him. Let's hope that they have seen the blue flag and heed the warning. Dave House crosses the start-finish line. One more lap for him in that number 86 One Motorsports machine.
And that car behind him on the road is Lance Wilsey, who led the Masters class in LMP3 for quite a long way. And Dave House, it's a position on the road for 10th and 11th places, but Lance Wilsey clearly has a much faster car. So Dave House, I'm sure we'll see him coming, let him go. As I look across to the Corvette bridge, I can see them coming underneath there, heading off down towards the hairpin. He's still got about, what, 8-10 car lengths, which is diminishing rapidly on the straight as they head down towards turn 7. And Lance Wilsey, I'm sure, would like to make out a position, and Dave House, he shouldn't be worried about losing at all, because he still is well in control.
Losing is not in the vocabulary of Patricio O'Ward, who claims the win here at Sebring International Raceway for that number 7, sharing the car with Leo Lamelas. It is second for Austin McCusker in the number 47. A great effort for that team, but it was just too much with Patricio O'Ward on the restart. Mike Weldon does bring it home in third for the number 30, the ESM machine, and it is Matthew Bell who brings it home in fourth, which means that our Masters class winner will be Jim McGuire, his co-driver, in that number 26. Corey Lewis, a top 5 finish for P1 Motorsports in the number 17. And then in 6th place, Robbie Foley crosses the line behind his teammate Corey Lewis, another P1 veteran, in the number 42. The Ave Riley finishes in 7th position, the number 44, piloted by Josh Hurley at the line. But all eyes now to the MPC class, as that is the next car to cross the start-finish line for 10th position overall.
Yeah, Lance Wilsey actually has got past him, so wisely Dave House not making any issue out of that position. So it will be Lance Wilsey, I think, who will take the position 10th overall. But coming through the final corner now is
is Mr. Dave House, young at heart, it is fair to say. He much deserved that fist pumping in the air for the number 86, the one motorsports driver, Dave House, getting a win here at Sebring. What a cool feeling. And Jeremy, it's just in time. His engine cover has started to come loose.
Kidding me, really?
Yeah, it was bouncing over the bumps going through turn 1 on the right-hand side. So he will be grateful on more than one reason that the checkered flag is out. The main reason, of course, being that now he finally gets to get out and breathe. Paul LaHaye comes...
I'm sure, excuse me.
No.
I'm just thinking, I mean, he's got to be the oldest winner in IMSA history. I don't think there's any question about that at 75 years of age.
Round 2 is in the books, and the race at Sebring International Raceway has come to a finish. What an exciting one that was. Congratulations have to go out to Patricio O'Ward and Leo Lamelas for one heck of a drive and a well-timed pit stop. It is TJ Fisher and Austin McCusker in the number 47. That car coming home second again, and Chris Wright with another third place finish. That's his second of the season. Massive congrats go out to Dave House, the oldest winner in this race series. A very well-deserved victory, but focus has to be on the front of the field and Patricio O'Ward. Let's hear from the young man who won the 12 hours last year, won the race today.
This deal kind of came about, if I remember right, it was probably like 6 days ago when they called me, hey, do you want to be in the P2 car? And I was like, yeah. And then they told me, would you like to be with Leo in the P3? And I said, yeah, sure. So I think he handed the car off to me. I think we were 10th. He had a little spin, but I knew a yellow flag would have to come out to help us because the guys in the front just were way too far in front. But when I saw that car in the wall, I saw the yellow flag and I said, ooh, it's game time. So I think we were sitting 4th or 5th, and I just picked them off one by one. And I don't know how much gap we ended up. You know, I'm stoked. It's my first P3 win. I've never raced P3, so it's pretty cool. And I'm glad I gave these guys me and Leo gave these guys a win.
Points, how do they look after that one? Well, Dave House is our MPC points leader. He's ahead of Robert Masson, who had a pretty bad day with that suspension issue. Bart Wolf and Tazzy Wattis are 3rd, and Stephen Dawes back in 4th, with Paul LaHaye in the 5th position. Not a lot of spring chickens up in that top 5, but let's hear from the old man himself, the guy who finished first, Dave House.
Well, you know, it was my first full race. Last time I split with another driver because I was just coming off the flu, but you know, it's about staying in there, and it's about endurance and about having regular laps. You just don't make mistakes. Oh, this is fantastic. This is my first win in the IMSA series, and I just turned 75. So I'm sure I'm the oldest winner you've had.
Where do they go from here? Well, they survive the bumps of Sebring. It's off to Barber Motorsport Park next, just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. The race coming in the middle to late April, but it'll be on Fox Sports 2 in May. Check your local listings for further details. What a race it was, and man, am I glad that these cars survived for the most part. There was a lot of action on track, a lot of really brave passes. They won't have many of those opportunities again because Sebring is its own special kind of place. If you can survive the bumps, well, you're going to be okay for the rest of the season on the whole. It was a scary ride for Dr. Masson, but hopefully the Performance Tech crew can clean that up. We had a fair number of cautions. We had some suspension issues, as you typically see at Sebring International Raceway, but everyone put on a good show, and it was Patricio O'Ward and Leo Lamelas who put on the best one. On behalf of Jeremy Shaw, I'm Shay Adam. We'll see you at the next green flag.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of the International Motorsports Association. We would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.